Hello, and welcome to
Papi Approved Movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
In our podcast, we will review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which of course they will.
Today we're going to be watching Mission Impossible.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
Press pause and come back when you're finished. Now, Papi, tell me the deets on this movie.
Okay. Mission Impossible came out in 1996 with a runtime of 1 hour and 50 minutes. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. It was written by Bruce Geller, David Cope, and Steve Zion. It was directed by Brian De Palma. The main stars are Tom Cruise, Jon Voight, and Emmanuel Bert.
For some reason, I've known this so much as a Tom Cruise movie that I thought that the character himself was named Tom Cruise. And so when he wasn't, I was like, what?
Yeah, I think this is our first Tom Cruise movie, right? I don't think we've seen another Tom Cruise movie.
No.
Yeah, so he's like, I would say probably the biggest movie star of all time, at least in the era that we live in.
And I've heard his name so much that I just thought he was a character. I didn't think he was an actor.
That's true. Especially with a name like Tom Cruise, right? Pretty
I know,
cool.
Tom Cruise. It just sounds like a fabricated movie name.
That's true. Maybe it is. I'm not really sure if it's
Danny
Tom Cruise's
Ocean,
name.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Ethan Hunt in this character.
Ethan Hunt.
Fun fact, this movie is based on a 60s TV show by the same name. It has also become a huge franchise with 5 sequels and 2 more movies coming out this year and next. I know. I don't know if you want to watch all of them.
I'm good.
Well, let's find out how you like this one. So what do you think, Nat?
I didn't like it.
What?
I have no memory of this movie. The only part I remember was that he was hanging from a rope, and it was like literally on the rope for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's like pretty much the most iconic scene in the movie where he's hanging and doing the balancing situation.
But it was completely quiet, and it was like he was there for like 5 minutes. I was like, when is this gonna get, when is he gonna either fall or like get brought back up? I was like, this is so boring. And that's the only thing I remember.
It was like the tense buildup where you didn't even want to make noise because you felt like you were going to set off the alarm. No, none of that? So good. And it is a very famous scene in the movie.
I did not like this movie at all. I was so bored. I honestly don't remember what it was about.
All right. The fact that it has like 100 sequels means something, but okay, whatever. What do you rate it?
2 stars.
2 stars? That's your lowest rating so far, huh?
Yeah.
So out of all the 22 movies we've seen,
this is the worst.
This is the worst movie you've ever seen.
Yes. Well,
I am so sad about that.
I still gave it 2 stars though, instead of just like kicking it off the board, because like I don't remember like tomatoes while I was watching it. Like I wasn't hating on it so much, but I was just really bored and I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in the bed just kind of like rolling your eyes.
I was just laying there like a potato.
Every 5 seconds. You just weren't paying attention. I think that's what happened.
No, I think I wasn't paying attention because it was a boring movie. And they made people feel anxiety.
Maybe that was it. Maybe you're like, I don't need any more anxiety in my life. I'm out.
Yeah. Why don't we get into the recap?
Okay.
So maybe I can remember this movie.
Sure. Let me remind you of all the great moments, highlights of this. Excellent. Okay, let's keep going. The movie begins with Ethan Hunt and his team interrogating a man for information.
Not Tom Cruise.
No, not Tom Cruise. Next, we see Jim Phelps, the team lead of an IMF or Impossible Missions Force team, a branch of the CIA, get on a mission.
Impossible Missions Force.
Get on a plane and get the mission. Exactly. Impossible Missions Force. Coming at you.
Ethan Hunt. Impossible Missions Force.
Okay. I don't know what you just said, but okay. The mission is to get proof that a man named Galitzin has a partial copy of the knock list. That's a list that has the real names of all the CIA agents. They need to record him with it and then get it back from him. That would be pretty bad if people found the knock list, right? Like if someone found your true identity, Natalie, if even your name really is Natalie.
Don't expose me right now.
Don't expose you. The knock list actually has our true names on it.
Your name is not Papi?
Your name's not Natalie? What? In Prague, Jim assembles his team consisting of Claire, his wife, Hannah, Sarah, Jack, and Ethan as his point man.
Claire already looked too young for that guy.
Yeah, that guy was way too old.
He looked so old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always felt weird, like how young she was compared to him.
Yeah, because he's like a grandpa, and she's like just a very young, pretty lady, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, spoilers, it's like they kind of try to make tension between her and Ethan, but like, Ethan's age versus that guy, ooh.
Yeah, but even Ethan's not very young. That lady's younger than all three of them, everyone.
Yeah.
Anyways, they go over the plan at a safe house. Jack gives Ethan 2 gadgets. The first is a stick that looks like gum, but really is a plastic explosive. The other are glasses with built-in cameras.
Like Iron Man?
I guess so. That's some high-tech gadgetry. A camera on glasses. I mean, we have like cameras everywhere now, but yeah.
Now they have Alexa glasses, right?
I think so.
Mom was most worried about them eating the gum.
Eating the gum. Oh, yeah, because it'll explode in your mouth. That would be no good. The mission is going well. Ethan finds Galitzin and gets proof that he has the knock list.
Galitzin sounds like a reindeer.
Okay. Ethan follows reindeer Galitzin to assure that the list does not get out. Then everything goes wrong. Jack is killed in an elevator shaft. Jim is shot and falls off a bridge. Hannah's car explodes, presumably with Claire inside. And Sarah is stabbed.
It's very, very intense.
True. Ethan runs to get the knock list from Galitzin, but finds him dead and the list is gone. The whole mission was a failure. Ethan calls headquarters and tells the boss Kittredge that his whole team is dead. Kittredge meets up with Ethan and their conversation turns hostile. Kittredge tells Ethan that the mission was a fake, that there was no real knock list. Kittredge had received information that someone on Ethan's team, codenamed Job 314, had reached out to Max, an international arms dealer, to sell the knock list.
They were in this restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And there was like a tank of fish, right?
Yeah, it was a huge aquarium of fish.
And it almost felt like a memory to me. Like I had seen that part before. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was like in a dream or something. But I remember there being like a giant tank in like a restaurant. It was like a floor to ceiling tank. And then I remember it shattered and then there were like sharks come out.
It could be like Despicable Me or something like that. You know what I'm saying? True. Like they might have like taken this as inspiration and done a scene like that.
Yeah.
That's a very famous scene when he runs away. Anyways. So
but
at this restaurant,
I just remember it like a memory and I was watching it. I was like, did someone do Inception on you?
Maybe someone did Inception on you. They incepted Mission Impossible. That's why you were bored, because you saw it already. You just don't remember seeing it.
No!
The operation was a mole hunt to find the traitor. So the whole operation was fake. And the purpose was to find who is trying to sell the knock list.
Why is it called a mole hunt?
Because a mole is like the person inside that's like a saboteur. Like when you played, what was it, Among Us?
Oh, yeah.
So that person was a saboteur? What was the name for that game? The traitor?
I don't know. The imposter.
Right. So like,
whoa, that was a pretty bad brain part for a Gen Zer.
I know. So the imposter is another name for an imposter. So they were trying to figure out who it was. Kittredge thinks it's Ethan. Ethan uses a gum plastic explosive thing, explodes the big tanks of water, and then makes his escape. That's the inception that Natalie was talking about.
Yeah, someone went into my dreams.
Ethan returns to his room to find clues about Job 314. Claire comes in later and Ethan thinks she's with Kittredge. She convinces him that she doesn't know what happened and is shocked to hear that Jim was dead. She stays with Ethan because she knows she will also look guilty for surviving.
Why doesn't she looks so suspicious? Because she just comes back and she's like, hi! And then he's like, huh, and then he like searches her and everything. And then he's like, weren't you in the car? And she's like, nope. And then they just move on. She
came in so nonchalant. She knew that the mission was aborted because they said abort to the mission.
Yeah.
But then she didn't think to hear the explosion. She didn't hear, you know what I'm saying? Like, you would have heard the explosion even if you left the scene. You would have heard it.
It's like she was like, oh, where's everyone else?
Yeah.
It was so suspicious.
It was. You know, I'll be honest. When Sophia watched this movie, She realized who the mole was like 3 minutes into the movie. She found it like super fast. She has like mom skills. Like she was able to find it. I, on the other hand, I didn't have any idea until the end of the movie. The first time I saw it. So I was like terrible. I thought like she was innocent too. Wow. Spoiler. We find out she's not innocent. But I didn't
Even
know.
with that's very sus, like, way of speaking and everything.
Yeah. Maybe that was me like, oh, she's so beautiful. She has to be innocent. I don't know. Maybe I got played. I don't know. Ethan eventually realizes Job 3:14 is really Job 3:14. It's a Bible verse. He uses the verse and eventually communicates with Max and sets up a meeting. At the meet, Max knows that Ethan is not the original traitor. Ethan, or should we call him the imposter?
Dun, dun, dun.
Let me rephrase that. Max knows that Ethan is not the original imposter. Ethan tells her that the necklace she got from Galitzin is a fake, and if she tries to use it, a tracker will be activated, and the CIA will capture them. She tries it anyways, but makes her escape before the CIA shows up. Did you understand all that? See, I am under the belief that you were kind of confused by this movie, and then that's why you stopped paying attention. Then you're like, I'm out. I'm not paying attention to it.
Well, I enjoyed Inception, and that's 100 times worth.
We watched it over 3 days, and I stopped to explain it to you 43 times. So.
And I fell asleep the rest.
And you fell asleep to the beginning. And what did you give it? A 4.5 star or 5 star? No. I don't remember what you gave Inception.
I don't remember either. Yeah. Oh no, my thing stopped loading.
Well, look at episode 10 if you really want to know. I don't know. All right, let's back to the Mission Impossible, the really good 200-star movie. Now that
out of 1,000.
1,000. Yeah, good word right there. Now that Max trusts Ethan, he tells her that he will get her the real knock list for $150,000 up front, $10 million upon completion of the job, and a meeting with the real Job. And she agrees. Ethan and Claire begin recruiting members for the mission to retrieve the knock list. They look on the disavowed list for help. They hire Luther, who is a computer hacker, and Krieger, who is a bloodthirsty jack of all trades. Ethan goes over the mission with his new crew. They will break into CIA headquarters. There they will go into a terminal station inside a vault that is protected by lasers and a security system which activates an alarm if the floor bears any weight, any noise is made, or the temperature rises in the room. It's some hardcore, heavy equipment here.
It felt very much like Charlie's Angels in that scene almost. Because they had a retinal scan in Charlie's Angels too, I think. And then you couldn't have any like pressure on the floor.
Right.
No, something like that.
Couldn't have pressure on the floor for like more than 1 second.
Yeah.
So that's why she was doing all those flips.
Yeah, and so that felt very much like it. And then it felt kind of like Ocean's 11 with all the like laser thingy.
As I'm watching a lot of the things, my list that we have of movies, I like heist movies. I think those are one of my favorite type of genres.
I feel like this movie is just a bad mashup of all the better but still terrible movies.
Oh my gosh, I don't know about that. But I do know that I kind of do enjoy it. So we have another movie called Sneakers. It's really good. It has similar kind of equipment situation. I think that Charlie's Angels is a ripoff of this.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm thinking because theirs is
it's
more
also
for
a
jokes.
60s show that's
true. They're both 60s shows, so yeah, it's kind of funny.
But I feel like there's become like a recipe to the perfect heist movie, and then like that's why it's like all those elements are in there.
The one is like when the guy tells everybody what they're gonna do,
and
then everybody's like incredulous. They're like, "What? You're really gonna do that?"
No, because they'll tell everything, and then some character in the back will be like, "In English, please."
Yeah. You're like, "Can you please explain all that craziness to me?"
I do feel like I enjoyed Ocean's 11 a lot more than this one, though, because I feel like Ocean's 11 was a little less confusing, even though the heist part of it felt a little more complex.
Yeah, I think because that was it. Mostly it was all about the heist, right?
Yeah.
And this one was, the heist was just for him to be able to get to the bad guy.
Yeah.
The mission begins with Krieger and Ethan pretending to be firefighters to get into the ventilation system. Claire goes undercover and poisons the CIA analyst that works in the vault. He gets sick and throws up constantly, preventing him from being inside the room. Ethan then rappels down and connects the computer to Luther, who's stationed outside ready to hack into the system. After a few close calls, the team gets a knock list, and away they go. So this is the scene that you were really bored with.
Yeah, I was just sitting there like, when is he gonna go back up?
when he was sweating and then he knew that the drop was going to fall. And then that would have, started the alarm.
Couldn't he have wiped that drop?
He tried. He caught it, right? He was like stressing. He couldn't move because he was stuck. And then the knife fell down at the end. But it was right before when the gentleman came in, so it didn't set off the alarm. It was so intense. I can't believe you didn't like that part.
It was quiet.
Yeah, because you couldn't talk loud. I bet you in the movie, people were like holding their breath. Like they were doing that. That's how intense it was. And you were like yawning the whole time. I want to have popcorn. I want candy or whatever you were thinking. I don't know.
I always want candy.
The team goes to London and Ethan contacts Max for the handoff. She tells him to meet her on a high-speed train and she will give him the money and Job. Ethan also calls Kittredge. Ethan stays on the phone just long enough to let them trace the call, to let them know that they're in London, but nothing else.
I do think it's often that, like, telephone booths were a big part of, like, missions, like Superman and all those. Like, telephone booths are, like, a big thing. And now they don't even exist.
Yeah. You can't make a phone call on a phone. I think you have burner phones, right? Like, phones that they use and then throw them away or whatever.
I think that telephone booths were pretty, like, a cool thing, like, very romanticized. And then now they're just like, no, we don't need them.
Yeah, now we don't have them. After the phone call, Jim appears to Ethan, injured from his bullet wound. They sit down and talk. Jim accuses Kittredge of being the imposter. Right? Imposter. Ethan looks at Jim and outwardly agrees, but in his mind, he replays the whole mission with Jim and maybe Claire as the ones that are the moles. This was very confusing at first because Ethan was just pretending to say one thing, but thinking of another. Do you understand that part?
No.
Yeah, I remember being confused too, where in his mind, he's thinking how Jim is the guilty one.
Uh-huh.
And you can see those flashbacks, but when he's talking to Jim, he's pretending that he agrees with Jim.
Oh, I remember that. And meanwhile, I was thinking, what about Claire, though? She's also very sus.
So at that point, Ethan didn't know if Claire was involved or not.
Oh, because then he would think about something and then he'd think about another way that it could have happened.
Right. He thought about a way that it was just Jim, and he thought about a way that it was Jim and Claire.
Yeah.
And he didn't know.
And then he kind of like decided on like the not Claire version.
Yeah, the not Claire version. You know, to me, that was the weakness of the scene. So before that, okay, then he comes back into his room. And I didn't write this in the recap because it didn't make a difference. But he comes back to the room and she kind of kisses his hand. Kind of like in a flirty kissing way. And I thought, are they together? Are Ethan and Claire together? They don't show them.
That didn't make sense, though, because Claire, like, was never with him, though.
The other thing is Claire pretending so that Ethan doesn't know that she's guilty. And it works, because he doesn't know if she's part of the conspiracy or not.
Yeah.
So much so that he decides to go on the train to try to catch Jim later, even though he could have just told Kittredge where Jim was and then call it a day.
That's true.
But he needed to know if Claire was involved. I thought that was dumb. There was no need for that.
Yeah, because either way, like...
Yeah. Either way, it didn't make a difference. If she was involved or not, they're going to
As
find
I was
out.
watching it, I felt like they kind of shoved in a love story.
It throws me off.
It really felt like kind of forced.
It did. It did. Also, she just lost her husband, right?
Yeah, and she's just going to be like, oh, no.
I'm so sad. Let's make out. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It seemed sus, as you would say.
And that's more sus because old man, he's an old man. So it looks like she's in it for the money or something. Because of the age difference is so big that it makes it seem like, oh, I never really loved him. Let's go make out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because now he's dead. And
Well, let's get to the other part, which to me makes even less sense. So let's keep going. On the train, the handoff is made and Max gets a knock list. Luther blocks her computer reception so she cannot email the list out. Ethan goes to get the money, dressed as Jim. Claire comes in and gives away that she was working with Jim the whole time. Then Ethan unmasks. So he caught her, right? His whole point to be there was to see if she was guilty, and he realized that she was. Then the real Jim comes in and points a gun at Ethan. Ethan puts on those super cool glasses, and Kittredge is on the other side. And now Kittredge knows that Jim is the mole and not Ethan. Jim escapes, but how does he escape? What does he do? He shoots Claire.
That's intense.
So why did he shoot her? It's so weird. Why didn't he shoot Ethan? Now, I mean, Ethan might have dodged a bullet, but why did he ever put it?
He could have tried at least to murder Ethan,
right,
you know?
Ethan's the one trying to get him, not Claire.
Yeah, Claire's a part of it. Like, what do you mean? What
Claire
are you
was trying to
doing?
save Ethan so that way they didn't kill Ethan.
Bang bang! You could have tried.
I know. But Claire dies by Jim's hand. So I don't know. That's the part that goes. Yeah, Claire didn't have any. I don't even know why she was in the movie. I guess to explain why Ethan stayed there, but I mean, I don't get it.
She was. I feel like they almost threw her in there to patch their plot hole. It felt like that. I know it's not because like all of the.
Well, I mean, otherwise he wouldn't. What did he need to go find Job for? Like he didn't need to. They would have eventually found him. He could have dressed like someone else and then waited in the baggage area and then saw him and then be like, oh, there he is.
Are you now seeing why I don't like this movie? You just explained why it's a terrible movie.
No, I explained that there's some plot holes and some confusing situations, but it's a great movie with great action.
I think that your pride's in your way.
No way. The one scene in the vault is price of admission right there. That intense situation with Tom Cruise acting and putting his arms out like all flat so that way he doesn't touch the floor. I mean, like you don't breathe in that scene. I would tell you, you're like holding your breath. That's so exciting. And then the helicopter ride that we're going to recap right now. That was incredible. That was amazing. After Jim shoots Claire, he gets to the top of the train where Krieger comes flying in a helicopter. We find out Krieger is part of the whole conspiracy as well. Jim tries to board the plane and Ethan comes and tries to stop them both. Ethan is almost killed many times, but eventually he gets the upper hand and blows the helicopter up with his handy-dandy gum explosive.
He used it earlier, though, and I was like, wait, he has another?
Yeah, like lots of stick of gums, right? Not just one.
It's an explosive gum. You never know.
Jim and Krieger die.
That doesn't seem very safe that he has, like, a whole pack lying around.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? I mean, the guy's fighting for his life. He's going to have everything. He's going to have guns. He's going to have explosives. Jim and Krieger die in the explosion, and Ethan barely survives. That one scene where the helicopter blade almost cuts his throat off? Bro, come on now. How is that not exciting, Natalie? Kittredge comes onto the train and arrests Max and gets the knock list back.
Poor Max.
Poor Max. She's an international arms dealer. Like she's trying to find out who the CIA people are so they can kill him.
But that's not that bad.
Yeah. Of all the people, she's the worst out of everyone, but she's charming. The actress.
She's kind of just there.
Yeah, but she's like very likable character, I guess. Days later, Ethan and Luther meet in a coffee shop, and Luther tells Ethan that he's been reinstated. Luther asks Ethan to join him, and Ethan says his days of espionage are over. On the flight home...
6 movies later.
Yeah. On the flight home, Ethan gets a mission briefing, and the music begins anew. The end. Natalie, I think you should watch it again. I think what you should do is, on your free time, watch this movie again and realize how amazeballs it is.
Amazeballs?
Yes, that's how good it is.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess you're not too much. All right, could this movie still be made today?
Yeah. I didn't really see anything wrong with it, except for I didn't like Claire's character at all. She was just weird. But I don't think that's like a made today thing. She was just really weird. Her like, again, she's just confusing and I don't know why she's there.
Yeah, I can see that as
the only like women that are in there is like Claire, who is weird.
When we get to the Bechdel test, what are you jumping ahead for? Anything else about being made today? Hello, why are you stepping on my word?
And then there's Max, and she's evil apparently.
So you're still talking about it, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about it not being made today?
No.
All right. Does it pass the Bechdel test?
No.
No. There's one scene that I thought maybe it did. Bechdel test is a test to see about female representation in movies. There are 3 criteria. First criteria is, are there 2 named female characters?
Yeah, there's Claire and there's Max. Here I only wrote down that there was Claire, but I forgot about Max existed.
Max. And there's Hannah and Sarah. Those were the two ladies in the beginning on Ethan's team that get killed in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Do they talk to each other? And do the women talk to each other at all?
I actually don't remember. They were probably discussing in a group at the very beginning about the plan.
Yeah.
But they were not talking to each other.
I think you're right, because in the beginning they did have the mission together.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know if they ever talked to each other.
I don't think they did. Even when they were discussing the plan as a group, they weren't talking to each other. They were talking to the main old guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 3 would be, well, if they didn't talk to each other, it doesn't make a difference, because the third criteria is, do they talk to each other about anything other than men? They didn't even talk to each other, so it doesn't matter. So no, Mission Impossible does not pass the Bechdel test. That's not even close. Even Claire wasn't a strong character, or Max. They were all like co-stars, like way down the line, you know?
Yeah. Even like Claire, if you took her out of the movie and like maybe patched a few things, like no one would notice. No one would care.
She could have died or not existed. So if they wanted to put a woman in the movie, you know?
Yeah.
They could have got another woman from the disavowed list, where they got Luther and Krieger.
Yeah. There's like no reason that she was even there. They were just like, they just throwed her in.
Just to be like the beautiful lady in the movie.
Exactly.
For a poster. Yeah. No, I agree. I can see why you didn't like it very much. Not only were you confused by it, the lack of strong female character, obviously, kind of.
Yeah, it was kind of sad to me. That,
yeah,
especially since I just really didn't like Claire. She was just useless.
Yeah, she was. All right. Anything else?
Oh, they did Inception on me twice.
Go ahead.
From the disavowed list, I got this like tech guy, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, oh, no tech guy can be as good as Riley from National Treasure. And I was thinking that, and I was like, National Treasure. And then I like, the screen flipped, and it was the guy, the old guy. And he's the dad from National Treasure.
That's right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, they did Inception on me. I would have never thought about National Treasure unless I saw that guy.
I think you're right. I think you saw the dad from National Treasure.
And I started thinking about National Treasure, and I was like, no one can be as good as Riley.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, anything else? Any other Inceptions or things you want to share?
Nope.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app.
We put out an episode every Monday. If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
That's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
We'll try our best to get to your suggestions.
And remember, it has to be PG-13.
Next week, we're watching Sahara, so I hope you join us.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye!